And it is game time. It is Friday. This is the second Friday where I have launched this as the Chief Innovation Officer of Trust Engine.
There you go. And I'm here live with you.
Thank you for representing and wearing the shirt. Bill, did we send out a shirt to you yet?
It is very sad. I have been checking the mail every day and have not yet seen that shirt. I'm an XL and I will sport it proudly.
All right. Well, we will, for the innovation team that's listening on this, we got to get Coach Bill Hart a special shirt. So before we get into the topic at hand, good to be here in person with you.
You know, it is great. I won't tell you all that. I got spoiled this morning when I showed up here a little after like 7 or 6. I don't know.
No, you got it here. Start with the 6.
Yeah, it was early. So, but never too early to hang out with Dave. He was up and running, and you know, special drink from the Savage Cafe back there. The weekend omelet.
Gibraltar.
I'm telling you, it's pretty badass. But I'm really excited to have my coach, the man who I credit with not just making me an amazing loan officer, but more importantly, made me a great human, made me a great dad, a great friend, a great father. So anytime I get to spend with Bill Hart, whether it's live or virtual, you know, means a lot in here. So I'm always grateful for you, and I love that you're willing to share with our community.
All right,
buddy. Thank you. Thank you for that, bud. Appreciate it so much.
Deborah, it's good to have you from Dallas.
Yeah.
Say before we start the mastermind.
I mean, just when I grow up one day, I hope I'm being interviewed like this and someone says the same thing about me as they just did with you, Bill.
Oh, I see that happening, Deborah. Oh, no, I mean, I know it's happening now. So yeah, by the time you're my age and, you know, I'm a brass plate on a wall somewhere, like, of course, you're already having that impact. So super excited to be able to share this time with you.
So for me to tee up Bill, for any new loan officers that are watching this, Bill Hart is a coach in the mortgage industry it's well over 10,000 hours of in the table, like being present with mortgage executives and mortgage loan officers. How many hours is it now, Bill? Because you've passed.
We actually calculated 20,000. Yeah, Rene Rodriguez hit me. You and I were in the same room, if you remember this, when we first did Amplify with him, and he's like, Coach, like, you got to promote the hours. That's a big thing. And so now we've calculated it's like 20,000 hours. So yeah, I'm just not real smart. I just do one thing and I just keep doing it. Apparently, you know, that's just my gig.
So think about that. This is a man who has 20,000 hours of mentoring and coaching mortgage executives and mortgage leaders. When I think of, you know, I think most of the top coaches in the industry recommend, you know, MortgageCoach, Sales Boomerang, Trust Engine, like they think it's a really good idea. But guys, Bill Hart has done so much for this community. There are so many amazing people that I've interviewed in our YouTube channel that adopted and became mortgage advisors. They went from loan officer to mortgage coach, and it was because you were coaching them and because you were leaning into them. So Bill, thank you for the impact you've had on this amazing community.
My honor, you guys. This is just, you know, it's like a warm hug. That's what this is. If a Zoom call could be a warm hug, that's what this is right now. And I'm just so fired up about what each one of you brings, and couldn't be more excited to be hanging out with you. And then I get to see you in Vegas soon. So there's your segue.
Yeah. Well, yeah, actually, that's a perfect segue. So this call is gonna be the 7 disciplines of champions, everyone. But we're gonna have 12 amazing mortgage champions in Las Vegas at the Modern Mortgage Summit. Bill Hart's gonna come to network and be a top cheerleader. But let's just start with that question, Bill. Why? Because I do think this year is not just another year in the mortgage industry. You know, like there's never been a year in the mortgage industry where 63% of every loan in the, you know, every mortgage in America started with 2% or 3%, and another 20% start with 4%, and rates are over 6%. So it is a different year in the mortgage space. Why is this an important year for the Modern Mortgage Summit, in your opinion?
Yeah, man. Well, you know, having like so many of you, except maybe for you, Deborah, you were probably in elementary school. But as I think back to the number of market downturns that we've lived through, I think I've lived through 8. And you do see very real attrition. Like it's very real. And you guys are already seeing it, you know, as you're viewing this or listening to this. you know that there are people that you used to compete with that are out of the business and they're selling Chryslers or shoes at Nordstrom. It's just, oh, it was easy. I liked it when it was easy, when the phone was ringing. And, now it's time to run a business, right? And most of you who are on this call already understand this. But what I would say to you is, well, look, when rates are 3 or 3, whatever, and the phone is ringing, you're dealing with a capacity market. Most of you can visualize the old, do you remember the Lucy and the Chocolate Factory video, right? Where the chocolates are coming out super fast across the conveyor belt. And it's like, that's what we were dealing with. We were dealing with capacity. And when one person said, yeah, I'm going to go talk to Chase, you were like, yeah, whatever, next. And it's a new day. It's a new day right now, because we have fewer people stepping up and stepping into the opportunity. People are scared. People are confused. They need wisdom. They need clarity. So I would say to you, wherever you find yourself on kind of that continuum, of experience and confidence, and a lot of this we're going to be talking about later, but wherever you are on that continuum, for you to be able to plug in to this kind of wisdom with the people that will be participating, that's the kind of thing where you're going to be making notes, you're going to be sharpened, you're going to be challenged, you're going to be equipped. Here's how I view it, Dave. I view it as, if I could give you a quiver, like an archer's quiver, that you would wear diagonally across your chest, and you've got like 2 arrows in the back, and those are the conversations that you've been having over the past 4 or 5 years, and you've gotten pretty good at, but maybe you've gotten a little bit lazy. It's time for more arrows. You need 10, 12, 18 arrows in your quiver. I'll give you a quick example of this, and then I'll just stop talking and answer questions. But
You're the special guest.
I was talking to
special guest. You get to talk as much as you want.
I appreciate it, man. I was talking to a top producer yesterday, and he's got a fairly large team, and he said, so dude, we've lost, and you all know this, when you see a trend, all of a sudden it kind of scares you. He said, we lost 3 or 4 deals recently where we are like at the point where they're making offers on properties, and they're telling us, oh yeah, we found this like special program for medical professionals, and she's a dietitian and she got a much better rate. And we told her, well, yeah, of course you should do that, but it would have been nice if you told us this 60 days ago. And, everybody in the business sort of nods their head to that, like, yeah, you're right. But it's not right, because what happens is 60 days ago, that person stepped into an arena of information, a waterfall of data, as they began to think about buying a home. And that's the moment where suddenly that reticular activator in their brain opened up, and it's like mortgage, rates, programs, options, right? That's when they start thinking about it. So the conversation that we had was about, well, hang on, what's the conversation you can now start having? Because it's a different market. It's a hyper-competitive market. There's new programs, there's new players, there's new options, right? What's the conversation you could have had up front that would have minimized the possibility of that happening later? So when you're in a room with some of the people that you've got there, and you're listening to how Jeremy does that, how Jeremy Forcier handles that conversation with that sweet smile on his face that just says, trust me, right? When Josh Metal approaches that conversation with that borrower up front 60 days ago and educates them and comes across with so much wisdom and so much conviction, is that going to change the possibility of those people doing something different down the road? Absolutely. So if for no other reason, come prepared to make notes, sit down, recognize that we can all be sharpened, because it's a new day, it's a new market. Is it going to be like this forever? No, I don't know. Everybody seems to think 5% is going to change the game. Maybe. But what I know right now is we've got to get better. So that's why they need to be there.
I love it. Well, we have just under 10 seats left for people who are thinking about being there live. So if that's something that, is on your heart, and you want to be sitting in a room with Bill and with Deborah and with all the speakers, right? Breakfast, lunch, happy hour afterwards, implementation mastermind the next morning. If it's in your budget and you want to be there live, locked in, you should be there. Bill, we're going to have thousands of loan officers though watching it virtually. And so What advice would you give them when they're watching, not just the morning event, when they're plugged in, I should say 8 a.m. to noon Pacific, or 1 to 3 Pacific will be the real estate summit, right? So what advice would you give them for watching it, and not just themselves for the mortgage, but also them with their real estate agents?
Exactly. Yeah, I just think that's enormously powerful. You guys probably remember years ago when I used to play that Jack Johnson song, Better Together, right? And we were talking about how, it's better together, right? With realtors. And so I think that's the spirit of this, is to reach out to those partners that you have, reach out to the relationships that you have. Dave, you remember me talking about this years ago, but it's assume the relationship. If you guys will write those 3 words down, assume the relationship with the realtors that you want to target, that you want to work with, then stop the dance. Just stop the sales dance. And instead step into an assumptive relationship that says, you can be better, I can be better. Let's hang out together. Let's make this happen. And if you're doing it virtually, I mean, Deborah, I'll let you chime in on this, but man, if it were me, I'd be you, Deborah. I think it just happened. You just showed how to do a video screen capture, right, on your phone. So
Good
do a
job,
video
coach.
screen capture, right? Come on. Take some screenshots, do some video screen captures, maybe have a blue screen of the logo behind you, the event. But I would start pushing that stuff out on social, because if you can't be with us in Vegas, and let me just say this, if there's 10 seats, you guys, it is 9/11 Pacific. Here's what I would feel right now. I would feel your heart rate going up, like, oh, I'll bet there's only 9 right now. Holy crap, I'll bet there's only 8. How do I do this right now? Like, I need to do this right now. Can I Venmo Dave? How do I get a seat right now? That's where I'd start. Right?
That's not how you're supposed to do it, by the way. Don't Venmo.
Oh, okay. There's another way. Okay. But then you guys, the virtual play, to me, the strength in the virtual play is to promote the heck out of it. Bring the people in that you know will benefit, be all in, turn all your other notifications off. I mean, I know you need to have, probably some DM capabilities and, text capabilities as real-time conversation is going on, but just make this an all-in effort so that it's something that is a flag in the sand moment for you, where you'll look back as you start progressing through 2023 and you say, that was the day, that was the moment where I got the information, I was inspired, my eyes were open to something that has made an enormous difference in my business. So that's why.
So there's 2 things I want to add to that. One, I witnessed Walt Schultz. So he did the Modern Real Estate Summit portion, where he invited a bunch of agents to his office. And I think we forget, not a lot of real estate agents have groups like this, like what you've created over the years, Dave, where we have such great leadership and we have, guests that pour into us to really help maximize our potential, or just help even with mindset. So guys, and I talk to you all because I do all my discovery calls, and you guys tell me pipelines are still a little lean, and we know we've got to cast a wider net because, agent transaction count is lower. So you're going to have more partners. And a lot of times you guys tell me, I just don't know what to say, or I want to host a mastermind, but what do I present over? This solves your very first challenge of not knowing what to say or how to host a mastermind, because you're just leveraging, when you stream it live, you're going to have the #1 real estate team, Jason Mitchell. You're going to have Spring Bonozzi, and however you pronounce her last name. You're going to have some of these top agents. That's such a gift with the people that you have in your same room to be able to pour into and just really motivate them. Like, we are at prime time where it's spring home buying season. It's like, is coming. So fill that bad boy up, get as many butts in the seats, and make this your excuse to get on the phone and now have something valuable where you're not asking for a lead. You're inviting them to an event that could actually change their business future.
Well,
So well said.
Well, I want to get to these 7 principles. I do want to hit home, guys. Anyone listening to this is not just another year in mortgage, and this is a year where market share is gained. This is where the best of the best gain market share. This is also a year where every realtor is recruitable. Realtors have never been more recruitable than they are right now. And one of the things that makes this such a special event is that, first of all, everyone on that stage is the best of the best. There's never been a stage with these 12 leaders all on the same stage. There's been 4 or 6 of these speakers at the same event, but these 12 speakers have never been in one place, and they're all bringing the heat with TED Talks. So it's micro content. So it's not a 90-minute keynote, and nothing against 90-minute keynotes, because they're incredible. I mean, there's no one better than Bill Hart at delivering a 90-minute keynote that connects you emotionally and it gives you lots of takeaways. But guys, there's also nothing like a TED Talk, where it's like, and you've got these TED Talks that are designed to create action. Like that's the challenge we've given every single speaker is, one, be focused on your ideas. Like each one of you have a core idea, and then drill that idea into people heart and head, connect that heart and head to these concepts. So we hope to see you there. Bill, I think it's a great segue. We just talked about, a bunch of champions in one place, delivering content and the community getting around that. Why don't you frame the seven, principles of champions, or seven habits of champions, and then break them down for us. Tell us what they are.
Yeah, so you guys summarized it beautifully in the promo for this call. It's a question that I get a lot when I'm on a podcast or when I meet people. It's like, coach, like you've been doing this a long time, 20,000 hours in the chair. What do you see? And so I began to develop this list over time, and giving credit where credit is due. It used to be the 6 disciplines of a champion, which did not have as much of kind of a lyrical ring to it. And B, it was missing a really important one. And my friend Dave Savage, pretty sure we're in Dallas. I'm not 100% sure of that, but at some point you said, I think you're missing a 7th. I said, really? And he said, yeah. So that's the tease. Like we'll get to number 7, but I just want you to, it's all because of Dave. Yeah.
It's funny that you remember that, because I actually told Todd that. I wonder if Bill even remembers that.
I'm so
vividly, dude. Yeah.
But here's the deal, guys. It was one of the best keynotes I've ever heard. It was at Prime Lending's annual sales rally pre-COVID. And first of all, I went up really pumped going, dude, that was incredible. And then you and I were talking, and yeah, I gave you the idea and you immediately jumped on it. But here's a message to all y'all. Bill is an incredible keynote speaker. So like, get this guy on podcast. I know you work for a specific brand now, so I'm not so sure people will be hiring you for their keynotes.
You know what? It actually happens. And Dave, I think it's the ultimate compliment, because I think what that means is, well, if people trust me, right? Like I'm not going to come in and do a flaming infomercial, and I'm not going to wear, this t-shirt, speaking to your group. I might wear a t-shirt. I will say that. I'm sort of done. I'm sort of done with suits and ties. Yeah, exactly. I could very well. See, who am I going to offend if I wear that one? So yeah, I do have the blessing of being invited to give keynotes all over right now, and it's really, really fun. So yeah, if you guys need somebody to bring a message, I'd be happy to do it either live or virtually. So people ask me these questions, and I started to frame this up, and it may very well be my next book, but here's what I've learned, you guys. 5 of them I don't think are going to surprise you. They're going to be like, yep, I'm nodding my head. I get that. Yep, I need to get better at that. I used to do that better. But 2 of them I haven't seen anybody talking about. So here we go. Number 1 is you got to get clear. You got to get clear. And as I lean down and I pick up, my copy, sorry, dude, it's Q4 2022 of the Win by Noon Planner. The great news is if you're just somebody who has really never put together a business plan, and only you know who you are, if that's true. And it's not uncommon, because as long as you were running in front of the tsunami, you could make a living, and it's easy to believe that, you didn't really need to plan, but you do now. You really do need to plan. And so I would start with the Win by Noon Planner. If you don't already have it, it's a great place to begin. Building Champions, I'm a huge fan of the one-page business plan that Building Champions uses. There's no shortage of ways to get this done, but ultimately they just get clear. They get clear about what they want. Todd, I remember you and I having conversations years ago. Here you were coming in from the bike business, and you're now in the mortgage industry, and when you got clear on the way that you were going to approach this business, it changed the way you framed up your week, the way that you framed up your days. And all of you know, and Dave, you've now interviewed more than any human in history, top producers in the mortgage industry. I mean, can we agree, right? Can we agree? You were muted there. What was that?
Yeah, no, I think you might be right. I don't know anyone who's interviewed more.
Nobody's interviewed more
top producers than me.
Yeah. Nobody's interviewed more.
So that's a brag
New
moment.
challenge.
Right?
No, it's like,
right.
and to your point, not bragging, but it would be a hard record to beat in terms of the number.
I can't imagine it happening. I hope you know what that number, or maybe somebody in the background could help you come up with a rough estimate, but it's a big number. And I think that's a number you should know. I think if Renee were on the call, he'd say, you should know that number. And I'll tell you why.
I will know that number. I'll get on.
Okay. Somebody challenged me recently in a talk that I was giving, and they said, so you've interviewed a lot of realtors. And I said, I actually think I've interviewed more realtors at this point in my career than anybody alive. And the reason I say that is I think it was probably Howard, what's his last name? Superstars, Dallas, not Dallas, Denver. Oh, somebody help me out in the chat. You guys know who I'm talking about.
Brinton?
Howard Brinton. Howard Brinton would have been the guy. Sadly, we lost Howard probably, 10 years ago or something like that. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's somebody, but I don't know who that person is. And so I think that brings a validity, Dave, and I think it brings weight to your depth of knowledge. And so the whole reason I brought this up is in point number one, get clear. How many people, how many mortgage lenders you have interviewed personally, where they said to you at some point, I got really clear. This is who I want to go after. This is the niche that I want to own. I don't want to do this type of business. This is exactly how much volume I'm going to go after. And I've mentioned Jeremy Forcier, Josh Metal. There's so many great examples, the Todd Bookspans of the world, the Mortgage Nerd, for goodness sakes, right? I mean, like, how many people do we have to look at who occupy that rarefied air at the top of Everest? Thank you very much. That's where you are today. Nice.
Yeah.
They get clear. And I just think it's enormously important as a coach. Here's the thing that I can tell you, and Deborah, you probably feel the same way with Plug and Play when you're talking to somebody about their social plan. It has to begin with them getting clear about what they want. If all they're doing is saying, hey, I'm just throwing a bunch of stuff up like here and there, it's like, it's maybe not the best strategy. Suddenly you look like whatever those machines are called that pop tennis balls out on a tennis court. It's like, yeah, that's not the strategy. So, right, they got to get clear.
Yes. And it's harder when they don't have a business plan, because your social media strategy and plan should align with the bigger business plan.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, that's number one, you guys. And I just want to challenge you to really, once and for all, if you feel like you are not clear right now on the business that you want to go after, what your value proposition is, what separates you from everybody else, now's the time to really figure that out. And whether you're with us in Vegas or you're with us virtually in Vegas, that's going to be a day that's going to help you to get really clear about the way that you want to build your business. So that's discipline number one.
Before we get off discipline number one, I want to also add a ring of value around that, because in this market, homeowners are not clear. Realtors are not clear. There's a tremendous amount of confusion. Should I buy now? Should I wait? Rate's going to go up, or rate's not going to be done. And if you're not clear on your strategy and you're not having together, you can't bring clarity to people. And so I would just say this particular value is not only a great habit of champions, but I would say going forward in the mortgage industry, this is a skill that if you want to be a data-driven mortgage advisor and you want to thrive in the decade ahead, you need to bring clarity to consumers in a time of unclarity. And it's not like it's going to all of a sudden get easy. Like COVID drove rates down to 2%, first time in history. And we're in a different market. And so that particular principle, I mean, they're all really powerful, but that particular principle kind of has another layer to it. It's like, be clear.
Good point.
And turn creating clarity into a competitive advantage.
Couldn't agree more.
Let's keep rolling.
That's as you always do, Dave. Anytime you chime in, I think you said a ring of clarity. Like I'm picturing Saturn, and don't we have a new planet now with rings? I'm not sure which one that is. Anyway, moving on. You always bring that, and I always love that. And there's just so much truth to that, and it's actually going to tie into point number 4. So we'll connect those two in a minute. Number 2, Todd, you'll be glad to know, is time block, right? Like time block. Yeah. But the funny thing is, dude, like you and I spent time in a coach client relationship. You and I spent time together in a coach peer relationship. And so, and now you've dealt with so many people who have never time blocked, who hate the term. It makes them vibrate and they can't imagine, like, dude, I got into this business because I want to be a free spirit. Like, don't talk to me about structure. I don't want structure. And yet, what does Jocko tell us, right? The very thing that Jocko tells us is discipline equals freedom. So the discipline of time blocking, the discipline of having your win by noon planner structured in such a way that you can look at your day and say, I got it. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to make choices today. There's something very attractive to, I think you coach this on Sunday evening, looking at your week, preparing your week, so that when you open up your planner, we all know stuff's going to blow up. Things are going to go sideways. Appraisals don't come in and the underwriter's got an argument that you didn't consider and whatever. But having a structure to your day actually brings peace. It brings peace. And so I don't care what you call it, if it's time blocking, if it's dialing for dollars, if it's time chunking, whatever. What I know is you need to be subscribing to the Win by Noon planner. This is a 90-day commitment. Is that not still true, Todd?
That is still true.
Yeah. So come on, you guys, like if you're not using this planner and you say, well, I really prefer Outlook and I like to have all my digital, look, whatever, like get over that. There's so much science right now that says using a pen and paper and being able to look at it and see it away from your screens, the information stays with you. It gets inside your head and your heart. And so you have this commitment to, this is a window of time where this activity is going to take place, whether you do thematic time blocking or you just kind of start nailing it out during the course of the day. Whatever you call it, top producers, time block. They just do. Nobody I know, you guys have heard me say this before, nobody I know that performs at the highest level wakes up when they wake up. Like I'll ask an audience sometimes, like, hey, what time do you guys wake up? Right. And you start hearing 6, 7, whatever. But private conversations, when I ask people, what time do you wake up? When they pause and they go, that tells me there's no rigidity to it. Right. Josh Metal told me years ago, you know this, Todd, he told me years ago, he said 3:30. And it was just unheard of. Like who does that? Right. But somebody, I forget who it was, famously said, if you'll do what others won't do, you will live a life like no one else lives. And that's who these people are that are going to be with us in Vegas. And by the way, one other reason to be there is like, you're going to connect with them. You're going to build a relationship. You're going to take a selfie with them. You're going to post it. You're going to build a relationship on social. You're going to follow up, and you're going to have an unfair competitive advantage because you built relationships with the people that were physically there. It's going to be tough to do virtually. You'll get the content, but you're going to build relationships with key players that you wouldn't have met any other way in this intimate environment. How many big fluffy leather chairs again, guys?
60.
Yeah, I mean 60. Come on, we go to Todd's event in Palm Springs, and there's whatever, I don't know, 1,500, 2,000 people in the room. Like, good luck, hanging out with somebody and building a relationship. So, one more reason to be there. So, time blocking to me is enormous. Todd, you're the man. You're the subject matter expert here, dude. You've done it. You've struggled with it. You created a company around it. You've coached to it. Nobody understands this concept better than you. What would you add here on the time blocking point?
Well, I mean, first off, I learned most of it from you. So, got to give credit where credit is due. But I always believe the whole idea of schedule, what gets scheduled gets done. We all know that, right? When you actually commit to doing something, like I didn't say when you think about doing it, when you commit to doing something, it happens. And I tend to think when people actually write it down, then it, as you said, it goes, head to heart. And then I think the other part is you kind of alluded to it. I kind of felt bad when this realtor, I was in a room with a realtor and he was talking to his team of 50. And he said, you all got in this business to set your own hours. And that is the exact reason you fail. And he went around the room and he's making eye contact with half the room when he was doing it. And I take a pause and I say, but that's kind of true, right? We get up. I mean, I saw the Stratmore Group a few years back said 94% of loan officers walk into the office with no plan for the day. And as a result, 91% have inconsistent over month business. And so I just believe in this idea. If you design out your ideal week, and then you commit to doing it. And then guess what happens? You actually get more done. Even if you get 90% of it done or 80% of it done, it's way better than walking in and hoping that you don't get distracted by an email or a Facebook post or some other thing, conversation around, some other football game or something by the water cooler. You are committed and you get things done.
Yeah. That's so good, dude. So for those of you that recognize the P-51 behind me here, it might trigger in your mind that, oh, the guy probably likes aviation. And so 40 years ago, when I was learning to fly, one of the things that the way that I'm wired was contrary to being a safe pilot. And what I mean by that is I just wanted to hop into the airplane and go, like, let's go bore holes in the sky. Come on, let's go. And if you are that guy or that woman, you may very well have the moment where it gets really quiet when you're at 8,000 feet and you see the propeller like still, it's not moving. And it's because you didn't pre-flight the airplane, you didn't double check the fuel, you've got a problem now, and suddenly you're involved in one activity and it's landing. Hopefully it's a landing. One way or another, you're going to come in contact with the earth, right? So one of the things that I had to learn very early at 16 was, oh, the checklist matters. Filing a flight plan matters. Like I have to actually think through, my journey. And so if you're wired like me, and that's a natural tendency where it's just like, don't fence me in. Come on, man. I just want to do my thing. It's folly. It's a mistake, and it's not going to help you. It's not going to help you. You need that structure. So discipline number 2 is time blocking. Discipline number 3 is enormously important right now, and it's generate leads. So number 1, get clear. Number 2 is time block. Number 3 is generate leads. Now, I know you know this, you're nodding your head and you're going, well, yeah, of course we have to generate leads, but I mean it differently. Like 3B could be lead conversion, right? I need to generate leads and then I need to convert leads. But I'm saying that must be your mentality every day. The other great thing about the Win by Noon Planner is it allows you to do exactly that. So each and every day, not only are you tracking your activities, you're tracking the meaningful conversations that you're having, right, Todd? You're tracking the things that we know predictably will lead to great results. One of the things we were just able to start internally that I'm really excited about from a coaching perspective is we can now track our clients' credit pulls. And so instead of, when I was with Building Champions, when you're with an independent third-party coaching company, and believe me, I'm not slamming that, but one of the challenges is you have to have people report to you how many calls they've made, how many credit pulls they've had, right? The leading indicators that lead to the lagging indicators. The lagging indicators are fundings. And too often, all we talk about are fundings. We just talk about, right? I mean, that's a number we always talk about. Really what we need to be focused on, in my opinion, right now, are the leading indicators. Credit pull is just one example of that, but we need to know how many meaningful conversations are we having? How many people are we talking to? To Dave's point, how many people who are confused right now about the market are we having conversations with every single day? And you guys, I want to give you a gift right now. For some reason, I don't know. I share this with people these days and they're like, oh, could you say that again? So I'm just going to say it once because I can't say it again very effectively. But here's the new conversation that I would be having right now every single day. Gary Keller years ago used to have a category of lead generation for realtors called just mets. Have you guys heard this before? Like, I just met this person. Yeah. So just mets, we all have just mets in our days. Come on, you guys go to the dry cleaners and a restaurant and a fundraiser and church and a soccer game and you're meeting parents and right? We are just mets. If we're not hibernating in our homes anymore, hopefully we're out and about mixing it up. Our just mets happen every single day. And invariably in normal conversation, somebody's going to ask you what you do. So what do you do? If you're not wearing your t-shirt, you guys, that would be a pretty good conversation starter there. No borrower left behind. Tell me more about that. Deborah, yours is a pretty good conversation starter. Oh, social media, huh? Is that Instagram? Yeah. So maybe t-shirts is the name of the game here. Now that I think about it, like what a great conversation starter.
And stickers.
What's that?
And stickers on your computer.
Hello. Yes, we have some of those, as it turns out. I think we all have those stickers. So you guys start the conversation and somebody's going to ask you, what is it that you do? And you say, in my opinion, I'm in the mortgage business, which always begs the question, tell me about your real estate story right now. Where are you in your real estate story? And then shut up. And they're going to say to you, funny you should ask. We had hoped to buy a house, but rates haven't come down. And I think we're just going to wait. We're just renting right now. My wife and I were talking about it. We think it's time to move down. We've got a big 2-story house, probably not the right property for us long-term, not our forever home, but what would we buy? Like, and we got a 2 7/8 interest rate. Like, what would we do? No, we're really happy with our home. We bought one last year. It's great. We're actually thinking about investing, but we're going to wait until rates come down or whatever. You guys know all the conversations that you're going to hear. You say in that moment, really interesting, man, I get that. And then you pull out your phone, Deborah, and you hold your phone like this and you say, you know what, I've got something I think you'd find really interesting. What's the best number for me to text this to? And stop talking. And it's assumptive. And it's like, they either have to get really uncomfortable and say, I don't think I want you to send me anything helpful, which is going to be weird, or they're going to give you their phone number or an email address. Now, you may not have that article at your fingertips, but you can find something on the Mortgage Coach website. You can find something at Keeping Current Matters. You can find something on the Google, for goodness sakes, right? Like, there's no shortage of data out there, you guys. All you're doing, right? The Google, all you're doing is you're setting a hook so that that person now is where? They're in your database. They're in your data bank. That if you do that every day, let's just say you did that twice a day. If you developed a new discipline of doing this every day, that would be 10 new people that you would add a week. That would be 500 new people added to your database every year. And what I know, Dave, and I'm wondering how many times you've heard this, you get to, like, the average LO, I would love to know this, my gut says, has 300 to 500 people in their database because all they really hang on to are past borrowers. You start adding the just mets, all these people that you just meet, right? Let alone if you do events and connections that you're creating on social, you start getting to 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 people in your database. You don't ever have to worry about a market turn again. You don't, because the law of averages, the logarithmic effect of multiple people who have life events will feed you for the rest of your career. Can I hear an amen?
You can hear an amen. And I want to say this in a way that I hope connects with everyone on this call. The best lenders and loan officers in America retain 80% of the transactions happening in their database, 80%. The average loan officer and lender is I've heard anywhere from 17 to 23%. Guys, that's a 4x different. So literally at least 80% of the people watching this right now, you are just losing loans, and you're losing loans because you're not doing annual reviews. You're losing loans because you're not having your database monitored by Sales Boomerang. Movement is a great client of ours that is monitoring that. Or you know what, you are monitoring it, but you're not making the calls. You're not, when you know that someone is, has the equity, looks like a cash out refi, pulls a credit with someone else, you're not making the calls. So most loan officers, when it comes to lead gen, they're just like wasting leads. And then the last thing I want to say on this, because I know, Bill, we're almost in the fourth quarter. We want to hear all 7 of them, but the amount of business you're not getting from your current pipeline of loans that you could be getting, like Jeremy Forcier's #1 lead conversion source are referrals from people currently in his pipeline, and he's thoughtfully and strategically, I put a link to like a 5-minute video where I still check with him every year. Is that still that's still my best source of business where I convert the most. And again, he's got a very strategic way that he does it. He waits until the consumer says thank you in process, which is usually at approval, clear to close. And then he just has a little email that he sends, subject line, "We love helping you." Remember, the person just said thank you, either via text, email, or over the phone. Can you help me with something? My goal this year is to work with more people I like. Can you introduce me to 2 people that you think I should know and that I can help in the future? Guys, so simple, so easy, but you're so busy chasing the shiny light, that you're not getting the referrals from your current funnel, and you're only getting 20% of the potential loans that are happening in your own database. And I know that. I mean, as the chief innovation officer of Trust Engine, we know the data, and it's a big miss.
It's a fact. Yeah, I would just say own it. I mean, one of the things, Dave, that I've learned over the years is people will come to me in a time like this and it's like, so I need to buy some leads. Where should I buy some leads? And they start thinking about the newest, shiny object, as you say, the newest place to go buy leads. You don't ever have to do that again, you guys. Just build relationships with more people and feed and water those relationships. So that's generate leads. Number 4 is crave efficiency. This is the first of 2 that nobody talks about, in my opinion. So top producers crave efficiencies, and that could be as simple as something. The first time I probably heard this was 20 years ago, where it's like, so I built a standardized response in Outlook signatures, right? We've all done that. That's an efficiency. That's something that top producers think about. But it can also be something like Reach, the app. I hope you're all using Reach, the app. It's the one app that I've seen, maybe there's some others if you guys know, that allow you to send out a plausible text that's coming from your number, not a third-party phone number, right? The only thing is you literally have to keep hitting send each time it goes out, but whatever, that's 5 minutes. Like, come on, it's a spectacular efficiency. But it could also be MortgageCoach. Let's not overlook the obvious here. MortgageCoach is a phenomenal efficiency. You're going to push through the pain if you're not currently using it right now in the beginning to get to know it. Just like you did the first time you picked up an iPhone and you had a BlackBerry. It's like, I don't like this. There's no buttons. It seems like more work. I don't understand the cloud. What is these apps? Like, whatever. Just push through it and you're going to be in a much better place on the other side. The same could be said with Win by Noon, right? There's an efficiency that you should crave, and absolutely plug and play. Probably more than anything else right now, the world of social media presents an opportunity for you to stand out, to connect, to create relationships, to feed and water those relationships. But you need to do it, learn to do it right. And I don't know anybody better in that space than Deborah. So those are efficiencies. Number 5 is track. We all know this. We think about the realtors that real estate agents, highly successful real estate agents. Todd, I'm thinking of the Brett Tanners of the world, the Kenny Klaus, these two guys in your local market. When they go out on a listing presentation, they leave no doubt in the prospective seller's mind that this is the right person to do this, because they start quoting statistics about board averages versus our averages, days on market, list to sell price, right? Like we know that they do that. So we have to be able to do the same thing, to be able to track our numbers, compare them to industry averages, compare them to local averages, and then start tracking your expenses, you guys. Right now is the time. If I coached you, I would have you going through your expenses right now every single month, start looking for those subscriptions you're not paying any attention to for $29.95 a month, and be really thoughtful about where you're spending the money. Then make a new list. What are the things that top producers do that I'm not doing? Am I investing in plug and play with Deborah? Am I investing in MortgageCoach? Am I investing in Win by Noon? That's the place to be spending your money. I would hold everything, any partnership you have with the real estate office, I would hold every single investment that you're making right now up to review and track those expenses so that you can start making more intelligent decisions about where you're spending your money and what your return on investment is. So track. Number 6 is the second thing nobody talks about, in my experience. Maybe Renee does, but it's radiate confidence. Radiate confidence, you guys. When I think of Denise, Denise is such a great example of this. The way that she communicates, she has 100% certainty in that subject matter, in that topic, and how it's going to benefit the person that she's speaking to, or the videos that she records on those topics. Confidence is enormously attractive. You see it in your own life. When somebody, I tell the story a lot about, we bought a window, a big, in the Midwest, I think they call it a picture window, back of the house, back behind the breakfast room, right? It's a huge window. We needed to replace it. It had that, whatever happens between dual panes, where it kind of gets foggy or whatever. Anyway, we needed to change it. 2 guys came out. It was like a setup for me. First guy's got his hat on, backwards in a dirty t-shirt, and he's kind of talking to me. Well, yeah, we can replace the window and it'll be, I can't understand half of what he's saying to me. And I'm like, oh, and he parked his truck in my driveway and leaked oil on it. Seriously? Seriously. Second guy shows up. Guy shows up in a white pickup truck with an American flag on the sign. He's already got me at this point, right? Because, you know, whoop, this sleeve. There we go. I'm very patriotic. He is spotless, right? Like perfect hair. He's got Todd Bookspan hair. You know, it's like perfect. He's wearing the golf shirt. It's all clean. He's got an iPad and he's measuring with laser measuring devices, right? And he's very clear about what it's going to be. And I'm like, dude, you had me at hello. Let's go. He's my guy, right? Why? Because he presented with complete confidence. So you guys, only you know if you own this idea of confidence. You can take it too far. We all know too far creates arrogance and cockiness, and that's too far. But if you don't have confidence, when to Dave's point early on, when you're talking about clarity, when you're talking about confusion, when you're educating the consumer about what their options truly are, if you don't feel like that's your strength, join us in Vegas, tune in virtually, borrow somebody else's confidence. Borrow somebody else's confidence. And once you have that and you begin to perpetuate it, it becomes your confidence. And I would have stopped right there. Yeah, buddy, go ahead.
Well, I can't help but jump in on this because when we interviewed Wally, I don't know if it was last Friday or a recent Friday ago, Wally Ellerberry, you know, he has a different experience in the industry because of one, he does all of these 7 things. 2, he delivers a total cost analysis. I mean, he gets a different experience from a consumer than a loan officer does. And do these things when you win by noon consistently, when you make your calls, you have a different level of confidence. So I want all the loan officers hearing this, like it's hard to fake confidence. You have to actually do the things. And like if you do come to that event, you have to actually take really good notes. You have to pick 1 or 2 things that you actually implement. And then doing that fuels confidence. It creates confidence. Amen. All of the things, you know, having clarity. Like how can you have, if you don't have clarity, how can you have confidence? And by the way, if you can't deliver clarity to a realtor or a consumer in this market of unclarity, how do you have confidence? Yeah. So I just want to, like, this is one of those where it is the key, but you got to do the things that Bill said, and you got to be someone that's having a different experience than a loan officer. Because being a loan officer selling rates at 6 point something, when you know 80% of the loans in America are at 4 point something, that's a tough job. Like you need to be, you can't be a loan officer anymore. You got to be a mortgage advisor.
So Dave, I think here's what I think you just described in terms of me as a coach. When I hear you say that, and I think, so how would I encourage somebody to step into that opportunity, right? And here's what I know. If I sit around every day and I eat potato chips and dip, I'm going to pay a price for that at some point. If I make a decision about apples and bananas instead of potato chips and dip, I'm going to benefit from that. Right? Good things are going to happen to me just because I'm making daily decisions about my diet. In the same way, you guys, we have come out of COVID with this concept of binge viewing, and we all do it. Like, I get it. Guilty as charged. But if your decision each and every day, while you're struggling to rebuild your business, is to watch 2 or 3 hours of television a night, instead of investing in yourself and building your confidence by watching recordings like this, things that Dave has put together, that Deborah produces, that Todd creates, if you're not investing in that kind of content, you're missing the opportunity by eating potato chips because it's easy and because everybody's done it. And I'm going to ask you to put down the potato chips right now and pick up some fruit. Now's the time to invest in your career, invest in yourself, invest in your confidence. Make yourself stronger and more relevant and more helpful and useful to the people that you talk to, not just your borrowers, not just your prospective borrowers. One of the things that Wally's referral partners would tell you is, I I've never encountered a mortgage lender like this. Like I've never had conversations like this. I've never had a mortgage lender pour into my business or me personally like he does. That's the opportunity, you guys. And so that leads nicely into the last point. Thank you very much, Dave Savage, which is being all in. Now, hopefully most of you know if I have branded myself, thanks, buddy. Thank you so much. If I have, there it is, man.
My all-in
right?
sticker on my computer since we were talking about stickers before.
You're a loyal friend, and I appreciate that. Here's
That's
what
weird. I don't see my sticker on there, Todd. That's weird.
I might need a new address. I might have sent one to someone who looks like you, but it's not you, maybe. Is that what happened?
Maybe.
You might send me an address. There's stickers on their way to you.
Well, I'll
But
see you in
all
Vegas, actually.
Your
good
sticker's
point.
on my planner, so I see it every day too.
Right on, buddy. Love you so much, man. But you know what? That's why that's the name of my podcast. My podcast is called All In because I have such an enormous respect. I wrote a book called White Collar Warrior, Lessons for Sales Professionals from America's Military Elite, because I was fascinated by Navy SEALs, Army Rangers, and Top Gun instructors. Like these guys are all in. And right now, they're all guys. At some point, there will be women that penetrate these impenetrable boundaries. But you know, those people are all in a way that I've never seen before with lives that are on the line. And so I was looking for parallels to our world. And so the podcast came from that, the idea of being all in. And so what that means is, you guys, you can't dabble. You all know realtors. Everybody knows realtors that were dabblers, and realtors that are dabblers in a market like this leave the business. They leave the business.
One of those
They're not going to pay for,
I met one this morning. He drove me to Dave's house in what you would call an Uber for 45 minutes. Well, ironically, I had a conversation with other realtors around the country about this very number 6, confidence.
Right? Yeah, man. So you got to be all in, right? If you're going to do this, be all in, you guys, because this can change your life. This is more, I'm just going to close with this thought. This commitment to being all in can change your life. I remember the first time Josh Metal said to me he was going to take a 30-day sabbatical, and Todd, you remember that became a 90-day sabbatical. Who does that? Who does that? We have so many people who have learned how to build an exceptional life because they've created an amazing business. You have that opportunity. Don't settle. Don't be a dabbler. If you're going to be in this business, be all in. It is so my pleasure to be able to hang out with 3 of my favorite people today. I appreciate each of you. Thank you so much. You epitomize all 7 of these. And I can't wait to see you guys in Vegas. I want hugs. I want real hugs. Like,
Well,
let's hang out.
We got a couple more minutes, and I want to put a really important explanation mark on the all in. And all in is another thing that's really hard to do if you just got a job, or it's really hard to do if you're just a loan officer that takes a loan app and closes a loan on time. Like that is just not as bitchin' as my advice makes a difference. I mean, I went all in on becoming someone whose advice makes a difference, and it changed my life. I mean, it changed my success as a loan officer. Was to say, you know what, my advice makes a difference, and to be able to actually deliver that. That's what led to the creation of MortgageCoach. And by the way, that's what led to me interviewing loan officers, and I guess becoming the person who's interviewed the most loan officers. Is I went all in on my advice makes a difference. And now, by the way, and now you know, people see me. You know, I'm almost 60. I'm never going to retire. I love what I do. I'm all in because of those, and I have lots of confidence around my advice because I'm different. Like, I'm not just selling SaaS software. I'm not just a tech guy, you know, hawking software. I'm trying to change how people get into debt in America. So I really encourage everyone listening to this to, like, my goal this year is anyone that tunes into our YouTube channel, we eradicate the word loan officer. And everybody becomes, I'm going to call it mortgage coaches, but you know, become a mortgage advisor, become a data-driven mortgage advisor, and you will have an entirely different experience in this industry.
Amen.
But you gotta do what Bill said. You got to get clear. You got to time block. So Tom, we got 5 minutes left, you know, as Mr. Win by Noon. And how do we take action on all this?
You know, well, first off, listen to the next few minutes, but then hit rewind, right? Play this over and then go back through and then sharpen your notes, right? The bottom line is you need to evaluate yourself on all 7 of these attributes, all these disciplines that Bill laid you through, because in the end, we all have room for improvement in every one of those areas. And I think if you can figure out what is the one action in each of those areas that you can take over the next 7 days, and then figure out what it is you need to put into your calendar, right? What do you need to time block in there, number 2, in order to get it done, then you're going to be so much further 2 weeks from now than you are today by being intentional around that, right? What do you think, Deborah?
Well, I just was going to echo the fact that when you said go back and rewind and watch this, like I am on these calls every Friday and I'm taking notes every time someone is talking, but I always go back and I rewatch it. And ironically, I'm usually in my bedroom and it's on my TV. So my kids know who you guys are. They think you're celebrities because they see you on the TV. So that's to your account, Dave, when you're looking at who's watching the YouTube channel on TVs. It's my family. But I go back, and sometimes when you listen and you re-listen, it just penetrates deeper. And so I've learned to use my planner and make sure that I'm creating that time to allot for when am I going back, so then I can look at what am I going to apply first, which one's going to move the needle the fastest. So just, don't take that for granted, and make sure you time block and you leverage that time so that you're being intentional with how you're spending it.
No, this has been a really special call, Bill. And you always bring so much fire and wisdom to the community. So I'm super grateful for you, for the community, for everyone listening to this. Guys, if you don't already subscribe. We now have 2 YouTube channels, the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel and the Trust Engine YouTube channel. And the Trust Engine YouTube channel is modern leadership for leaders. We're going to be creating content for executives in the mortgage space. For anyone who wants to grow as a leader, I'm going to be interviewing people outside of the industry on what is modern leadership, how other industries are making the data/digital transformation, how they're leveraging data to create competitive advantages for their business. So make sure you follow both of the channels, Mortgage Coach and Trust Engine. Bill, any closing thoughts from you? Anything you want to say to wrap a bow around this amazing hour of Master Money?
Jerry Spence, a famous attorney from the 80s, used to tell in a courtroom setting, he would say to the jury, there's a story of an Indian chief who had a young buck that was going to be taking over chiefdom. And so he passed away, and this young Indian brave comes up to the new young chief and wants to trick him and prove that he's smarter than him. And he says, I have in my hands a bird. And my question to you is the bird alive or dead? And he's thinking, if you tell me it's alive, I'm going to squeeze it and kill it. And if you tell me it's dead, I'm going to release it and it's going to fly away. And either way, I win and you're wrong. And the young chief looks at him and he says, young man, the bird is in your hands. And it's one of my favorite stories, because that's what I would leave you with, you guys, is the bird is in your hands. Like, you have a choice right now. This is not about information and data. It's about execution. You've got to move from that's a good idea to I'm doing this. And that's what every top producer I've ever coached has done. And when you see somebody like Deborah taking notes and making things happen, that's what highly effective people do. They don't just sit and let it wash over them and then cogitate and think about it and go to happy hour and think about it some more and then sleep in the morning and jump in, do this. You have all the information, all the content at your fingertips, but right now the bird is in your hands. Make this happen. Take advantage of this, create a great life.
Well, that was a beautiful way to close this out. I don't have anything else.
Go.
Like, boom, like mic drop.
I'm not going to say anything to try to top that.
If you got value, use the little reactions at the bottom. I know from mine, I gave you a love, Bill. So really love
Thanks,
you, brother.
buddy.
Love what you bring
Love
to
you
the
too,
table.
man.
I'm looking forward to seeing you at the Modern
Likewise.
Mortgage and Real Estate Summit. Hope to see other folks at that special event. Or I hope to hear all the success stories, see you sharing on social media, you with your realtors, getting better, growing and getting better. You know, we're dedicated to that. Please share this with 3 mortgage friends. Share this with your mortgage leaders. This is a great piece of content for all you branch managers to have at a sales meeting. Bill Hart, grateful. This is a wrap, everybody.
Love
Take
you
care.
guys. Later.
Love you, man. Take care.
See y'all.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.